This Big League Show is brought to you by Guardian Baseball.
Welcome back to another Big League podcast episode, and today we have with us one of the best, one of my former teammates, a legend of the game, another Tampa boy, a guy that played 22 years in the show, hit over 500 home runs, just a guy that we're excited to talk some shop with. Gary Sheffield, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to dive in with you. We've been chopping it up a little bit
Let's
here for a few minutes.
Let's go.
And you know, we played a little charity golf on Monday.
Yeah.
I know you like to get out.
I was winning, man.
Yeah. I know you like to get out there on the course and stuff.
Was winning.
So good to see you again. Obviously,
Absolutely.
Nice to have you back in here. But I got to dive right into it, man. Mm-hmm. So for us, we were talking about it, and honestly, for Tampa boys, and obviously somebody that played and did so much for the game, mm-hmm. and how good of a player you were. We were pretty upset about. We felt like you got snubbed,
right? And
I'm sure you feel the same way. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to at least open up the conversation of the Hall of Fame, mm-hmm. and see, what's your take? You got to be upset. What's your thoughts on it? And I wanted to dive into the process, mm-hmm. and because I think there's a lot of people that don't understand how that voting and how that process works.
Right.
So obviously, again, let's dive in and let's start there. How do you feel about what happened in that process?
Well, I would say, I know a lot of guys that's in the Hall of Fame, and I talk to them a lot.
Yeah.
And,
Griffey.
Griffey. I talk to Griffey all the time at
guy,
Jordan.
Dude.
I talk to Piazza. I talk to, Dave Winfield. I talk to Andre Dawson.
Yeah.
These guys kind of give me the whole picture of the process, mm-hmm. and how they come to their conclusions. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the part that confuses me, because, I played on 8 different teams, and people, the first thing they say is, oh, he was on 8 different teams, and they don't know how you got to those 8 different teams.
Yeah, but 292, batting average, 509 home runs, 9 All-Star teams. Dude, you got all the numbers,
right.
You know what I mean? There's no way you shouldn't be a Hall of Famer.
Well, it's like you say, it's a matter of preference, and it's a matter of, the perception. Mm-hmm. And so
perception is
key.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
And so when you're on 8 different teams with a guy like my talent, you think, oh, it must be something wrong with him. Mm-hmm. Well, it ain't nothing wrong with me. It's something wrong with where I was at when I was playing. I produced, mm-hmm. and they couldn't afford to pay me.
Sure, exactly.
So a lot of different reasons why people move on and certain things happen. You would never think of Barry Bonds would be on another team with his talent. You would never think of Griffey or A-Rod. Well, they played on different teams too, because there was a reason why.
Of course.
And so there's no difference with me being on 8 different teams. I played on 4 teams that they had fire sales.
Yeah. Yeah, and you also played on some major market teams.
Right.
You talk about the Dodgers, Yankees.
Yeah, but if I had a blanket no trade clause with the Florida Marlins, mm-hmm. which would have kept me there for 12 years. I'd sign a 4-year deal, and then I signed a 7-year deal after that, after playing 1 year. So that would have put me as a total of 12 to 13 years in one place.
Right.
I allowed them to trade me after we won the World Series. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to take that trade.
Sure.
So I could have controlled by not going to 8 different teams by staying with the Marlins. So they don't look at that. Mm-hmm. It's me doing a solid for an organization.
Sure.
I allowed them to move me. So instead of them praising me for doing that for the Marlins, now you want to use
that against you.
You're
using the fact that you played against 8 different teams against you. But I think, for me, in my mind, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter if you played for 20 different teams.
Right.
If you produce over the years, mm-hmm. You're one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
So with the Hall of Fame process, right? Let's dive into it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Is it purely writers or how, who's making all the votes? Is it writers? Do coaches, players don't have a say, right? Players don't. I know. We didn't vote for Hall of Famers.
No, it's writers.
And obviously, again, with writers, we know Let
me give you a scenario, and then this will make sense to you. In 1992, I went the last day of the season, and I was ahead with Triple Crown.
Yep.
I was about to win Triple Crown, the last game of the season. I wound up getting 3 hits that day, and I drove in 4 runs. Mm-hmm. Fred McGriff hit 2 home runs. Darren Dalton drove in 9 runs. That's what prevented me from winning the
one game. He drove in 9 runs.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So that prevented me from winning Triple Crown.
Yeah.
I was told I won the MVP, which they flew me out, me and my dad, to L.A. To accept the award. I get there. They was basically saying, okay, in 10 minutes you coming out. I said, okay, no problem. Within 5 minutes, I see Barry Bonds and his dad walking by. And they walked in the room to accept the MVP award. Jeez. Now, I'm sitting here like
what?
You just brought me and my dad out here from Florida all the way to California to tell me I won the MVP, to not win the MVP.
To not win, yeah.
And not only that, I didn't even come in second. I came in third.
Wow.
And so for me to sit here and say, you won't vote for me to win MVP.
They treated it like the Heisman, but they didn't tell you that.
Right. They didn't tell me.
Yeah.
So the game started then.
Yeah.
Because I played those 4 years in Milwaukee, and then I wound up going to San Diego, and I had a monster season.
Yeah.
And they didn't vote MVP for me. So what made me think they're going to vote Hall of Fame?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the one question, for me with the Hall of Fame was like, because it was writers, I think you over the course of your career, because I think you weren't afraid to speak what's on your mind, to say, hey, this is how I see it, and tell the truth. I think there was a lot of pushback from the writers of like viewing you as somebody that they didn't necessarily agree with, or they didn't love, or it wasn't a team guy, but I played with you, when I came up when I was 23 years old with the Tigers in 2008.
Yep.
And I thought you were a fantastic teammate. We talked a lot about hitting. You gave me some tips, some feedback.
Right.
And for a guy in your position, I don't think you had to do that. You know what I mean? You didn't have to talk to me at all.
I totally get it.
And so I thought that was really cool. I thought you were just a gamer, man. I thought you wanted to win.
I just believe in treating younger players like they belong here.
Yep.
Because I didn't get treated that way. I got treated a little harsh because, I was a Dwight Gooden's nephew.
Yeah.
Number one, they thought I was a privileged kid, a number one pick, thought I was a bonus baby. And so you have all these labels placed upon you when you basically this shy young kid coming along. My background, I don't know much. Tampa don't look the same way it looked in '86, right?
No.
So it looks like a big city, but just imagine when I was coming up, it was a small city.
It was Belmont Heights
Little League. So you really not equipped to handle all of what's in front of you.
You got caught up when you're 18, right?
So I'm learning like everybody else. I'm being a kid, and so
can't imagine.
With all of these things thrown at me, I got hazed a lot. I would buy a suit and they would cut my pants leg off, and all of these things, and I was holding it in. I was holding all these things in, and I think what broke the ice for me to start speaking up for myself is when a teammate came out and said he don't like when the ball is hit to me late in the games, and I just thought that was a little disrespectful because I work hard just like everybody else, and they're about to name me as the face of the team, and so when they was getting ready to do that, and when he made that statement, I asked I asked Paul Mahler the first, how should I handle this situation?
Yep.
And Paul Mahler was like, well, I would ask him, did he say it, and confront him about it. And then I went to Robin Yount and asked him the same thing. And Robin said, just wait till after the game, just go up and ask him, did he say that, and tell him how it made you feel. And I went up to him and told him, how I felt based on what he said. And next thing you know, we got in a fight.
Yeah.
And we wound up fighting, and then that's when the reputation started.
Sure.
Or the reputation talks, you would say.
Well, the reputation.
Because it was more the writers that say that you had a issue, or you had, or maybe you were strong with the media, or not good enough towards the media. But your teammates and everybody that's ever played and everybody's ever watched felt like, not only were you their favorite, but you were just the entertainment, man. You were great to watch on that prime time that you were in.
Well, I tried to be entertaining on the field, and I wanted to make sure my teammates felt comfortable because, one thing about playing baseball at the highest level and being a teammate of, 24, 25 guys, a lot of guys looked up to me. And so I had a responsibility to be accountable on a day-to-day basis. So I played hurt. No matter what the situation was, I'm in the game. And so I try to set an example.
That was exactly right. You had issues,
major
when
issues,
you were playing together.
Major issues. But I try to stay positive and not let my injuries or the way I'm performing affect how I help somebody else. And I think that's the ultimate respect you can get to your teammate.
Yeah,
and
100%.
so I tried to do that, but I'm also going to keep it real with my teammates.
Yeah.
If I see something that you shortchanging the team or whatever, I'm going to speak on it and say, and I'm going to do it in a way where it's one-on-one. Hey, man, I think we need, you need to do this more, you need to do that more. And I was open to it as well, to accept the criticism as well.
Yep.
So it wasn't that I was shooting it out, I was receiving it as well. And so once the perception got out there and things just go left, you just let it be, because I know the person that I am, and the people that encountered my friendship or shared a locker room with me, they know what it is. And so I just look for other people to advocate for me than me doing it for myself.
Yeah.
What did those guys like Griffey and the guys in the Hall of Fame, what did they say like when you didn't get accepted? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what's that conversation?
Well, I know their position, because when somebody's used the word steroids and you don't know for a fact if a guy did or not.
Yeah, you still get labeled.
You're getting labeled, but you have to know the person.
Yeah.
And if they knew my story, my uncle was on drugs since I've been long as I can remember.
Right.
And we're talking about me being in high school and he got busted for drugs. So when I get to A-ball, they tested me more than any other player. Yeah. So I never smoked a marijuana joint in my life. I never touched any drug in my life. So the thing is that if people understand people's story, they wouldn't say certain things, because I benefited being younger than my uncle. He's 4 years older than me. He was on top of the world at an early age.
Yep.
And so I got a chance. I got first row
right?
seat.
Doc
Gooden. So I had first row seat to know the do's and the don'ts.
Right, exactly.
And so based on his drug abuse problems, I learned to stay away from it.
Right.
I wasn't one of those kids to like, let me test the water and let me try it and see. Nah, I'm the total opposite.
Yeah, because you saw what would happen.
I saw what happened.
Yeah.
So there's not a drug that I'm going to try to take or use to, number one, feel a certain way or make me or somebody make me think it's going to make me a better player. I don't need it. I've always been the top player since I was 8 years old into the big leagues, so it ain't no need of me doing anything to jeopardize that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like with this, too, I mean, when you're 18 years old and this guy has like this bat wag and your bat speed, again, like there's no chance you're taking something at 18, 19 years old, and you had the same bat speed when you came up. So like diving into like that stance, you know what I mean, in this bat.
World famous stance, baby.
World famous. This thing's, like unforgettable. It's legendary. Where did that start? Where did your like bat waggle, your stance start?
Well, that started in rookie ball, because like kids nowadays, they grow up using wood bats now.
Yeah,
a little bit
more than
more than when I was coming up. We didn't use wood bats because number one, it's too expensive to buy.
Right.
So I never used the wood bat. So I got the rookie ball. They had on my card a pitcher shortstop. So I was 8-0 in Hillsborough High School.
You pitched.
Yes.
You pitched. Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
I was throwing 93, 94.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
And throwing 99 across the diamond at shortstop. So it was like, I'm thinking I'm going to do both.
Yeah.
And so when I first got there, I went to the bullpen, and they called down to the bullpen, told me to get over here. The game getting ready to start. I was supposed to be running out the short. So I had a pitcher's glove. If you saw my uncle, the glove he pitched, is one finger come out.
Yeah.
So I had that glove playing shortstop. So then, right before BP, I was taking ground balls at shortstop first when they called me in from the bullpen, and then all of a sudden we started BP, and I started hitting batting practice with a wood bat for the first time. That's the first time I picked it up.
In professional ball.
And professional
like rookie ball. That's crazy.
And so I kept hitting balls, and I kept hitting them foul. And
late?
Yeah, no, I was hitting the ball, pulling it.
Yeah.
And because I didn't want to get jammed. And so
head was out.
It was just it was between my ears, It was just like I wouldn't wait back.
Yeah.
And I wound up going 0 for that day. And then the next day we was in batting practice, and I started wiggling the bat. And I hit 10 balls out in a row. I said, I'm taking this in the game. And I wound up hitting 2 out that day.
You discover a timing mechanism within your training.
I just made the adjustment
just because
in
you
1 day.
felt like it felt good in BP.
I made the adjustment in 1 day.
But like, did it unweight the bat for you? Like, did it feel like it was timing?
It allowed me because see people I was one of the guys that study hitting because I wanted to know how the body moves in space. I wanted to know like arm angles. I learned that certain arm angles are basically telling me what only pitches you can throw. Mm-hmm. Because if you're coming from a 3/4, your ball is going to go away from me or it can run into me. Sure. You can't rise it.
Sure. Yeah.
So I take the rising out of the equation and I only focus on away and in.
Yeah,
If a guy comes from the top, his ball only going to do certain things. Right. So I study these things. I study when your feet are placed on the ground, what's the next thing supposed to move? Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be your feet, your knees, your hips, and your torso together.
Right.
And then you rotate with your arms. And so I started practicing that. And I started breaking hitting down to a science. And then the more and more I did it, then I really understood the proper swing. Yep. And the proper swing is as simple as hitting off the tee.
Yeah.
If you hit off the tee.
Yeah, but you hit what off the tee? You hit line drives off the tee?
Because
you see some of these guys that are like, barrel drop into the top of the net.
Yeah, but it
drives me nuts.
Yeah, but the key to hitting off the tee is backspinning the baseball without it hitting the ground or hitting the top of the net.
Yep, exactly.
And so I focus on placement, the ball, just playing pepper with the wall.
Yep.
And then when I say, okay, now I want to elevate the ball, I watch the swing, how I hit the top of the cage, but the ball is going out straight.
Yep.
Then I think about hitting the ball to first base, driving the ball to first base, because when somebody tell you hit the ball the other way, the proper way to hit the ball the other way is try to hit the ball to first base. Mm-hmm.
And like that's line drive to first.
Line drive to first base.
Not like create the
right. Don't create the launch angle.
Yep.
Just let it be.
Yep.
And so when I did that, that's when I became a master at what I did. Because I already knew the success was going to be there before the game started. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of now having everything in place to be able to have a good game. So I have all my keys down in my mind. I done thought it out. I done processed it. I done played it out in my mind. So when I go up there and hit, I expect it to happen.
All this happened during pro ball. And this is huge for our youth listening today because they set their ways, early on, and they stick to one thing, and they don't realize that you can rediscover yourself 5 years from now. Yeah. We get kids that are quitting at 13, 14, 15 because they can't figure something out. They don't realize it might not be 22 until they discover it.
That's right.
It might not be 21, and so that's how the game is affected, because now less kids are playing and there's less opportunities, and then now the way the game is getting with Major League Baseball and what's happening in minor league ball, the game's shrinking. So guys don't really want to, they're like, that's it. I'm no good at this game. Right. They don't realize it could have really been legit, or some of these kids have legit tools and they don't go and discover themselves.
Well, I say that to everyone that play this game. Everybody got some quit in them. I say
some quit
in them.
Okay.
And if you're one of those guys that don't have no quit in you, what it looked like on Monday, it could change on Thursday.
Okay.
But if you got quit in you, you're not going to change it because if you have a bad day on Monday and then you have a bad day on Thursday, you're willing to tap out. Mm-hmm. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not willing to tap out. And so
keep discovering. Just keep going.
Because you played the game, Matt. You played for a long time. You know that you never really mastered this game.
No.
This game is
some days you feel good.
Yeah.
Next day you feel like shit.
You just don't understand it, and it's just like, man, I thought I felt great, but that's where the perseverance come in, and you got to say to yourself, whatever it takes today to help my team win, that's what I'm here to do.
Right.
When you get caught up in the stats, that's where I think guys go wrong, opposed to just focusing on your job.
Yep.
So whatever your job is on those 4 at-bats, it's going to tell you when you walk up there. Mm-hmm. That's your job.
Yeah.
And it may change every day. It may be nobody get on base today, and maybe the base is always clogged up when you walk up here.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, you got to set the table today. You got to drive them in tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's like a constant everyday thing of working on your crafts. Until I was 40 years old, I was still trying to figure out things. Mm-hmm. to make myself a good player at 40 years old.
Right.
So each year is different, and I think that if kids just have that mentality that I can make him quit, but I'm not going to quit, you're going to be more successful than not.
Yeah, it was for me. It was really the mindset of like the process, working the process as opposed to the outcome, because I can't control the outcome. I couldn't control the results. The more I thought about the outcome results, the more stress and frustration I got, as opposed to, all right, like what's my routine? How do I prepare best for this game? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I get better? What's the process? What's my approach? All that stuff. So that's cool to hear.
Do you think there's a problem with coaching today?
I was going to ask along those lines if he was going to coach and manage. Right. And what did that look like, right? So let's dive into like coaching and managing and stuff like that.
Well, I know you do stuff for youngsters.
Oh yeah,
you got a great foundation which you want to let everybody know about, and you help out so many kids. But we see what's going on within the game, and I feel like there's a huge problem with coaches at the youth level, and there's issues at the high school and college level. These guys that are managing and coaching high school and college don't have your experience. They don't even have my experience. They don't have you guys' experience in the big leagues. They don't have, some of these guys never played. They're coaching D1 programs, D2 programs. They played a little high school or a little JUCO, and they got an education, so they get these jobs. But I see a huge issue with coaching right now. In the pro ball, we do a lot of development stuff. We find ourselves almost 100% of the time just trying to like fix or heal these guys from 12 years of damage. Do you see an issue? And like Matt said, I mean, if you were managing or you do manage one of the teams, right?
Yeah, I do. I
do
all of it. I run the organization. I manage the games. I bring all the baseball.
Travel ball?
Travel ball. The Florida Heat.
Oh, you got involved in travel.
Florida Heat, yeah.
Foundation.
Okay.
But I had to stop coaching because what started happening is that whoever we play, the parents, the kids, the coaches, they was playing against me, opposed to my team.
Yeah.
And so they started getting personal and things like that. So I had to back away from that and just run it from an organization standpoint. But I think with coaches don't want to take the responsibility of teaching, and they want the responsibility to say that they won.
Want to go get the best 20 players they can find.
Get the best players. They don't teach them anything. They don't learn how to play team sports, because you're playing individual sports when you have a bunch of guys that's coming to your team and they don't know each other.
Right.
So there's no camaraderie that I know how he thinks and I know how he thinks, and we look like we on one accord out here. When you see a bunch of individual play, that's a reflection on the coach. And so what I did with my organization is we have practice 2 times a week. And I basically go over defense, I go over hitting, I go over teaching the game, teaching the fundamentals. And once we get in the game, I don't really have to coach.
Yeah.
Because once the game starts, I just
besides of the situation of the game, maybe like
based on like
managing the game.
Yeah, managing the hit and runs and stuff like that. But once I put it down, it's up to you to execute, because we went over it in practice. Right. A lot of these teams don't practice. So when a coach puts something on, they're not going to take the bat out of somebody's hand because they don't even know the player. And he's just a guy that can hit. My kids, I make all my kids look good when they play together because they know exactly what to do. When they go play for somebody else and now they're their own individual self, they don't look so good. Right. And so they don't realize the benefit of playing with somebody that's not about trophies, but about development and getting better. I think that's what a lot of coaches run away from, because they just want they want all the top players, which brings them all the money, and now they can make a living doing this, opposed to it's about the kids.
You can make some money. I mean, there's a lot of ton of travel ball
But at
teams.
the end of the day, it's still about the kids.
100%. Which it should.
Well, it should be about the kids, but it's not. It's about the money. They're out there cooning these people like crazy, brother. They're organizations that are all about, can we turn that $500,000 into $1 million?
Yeah.
Can we have a A, B, C, D, and F team? Can we, and then we'll let the really good team plays for free, because A through C just paid for our team that's going to fly to Texas and play against the teams out there in Southern Cal and back to.
Here's the other thing, though. This is what I always tell, I tell to my kids, coach, when I give you my kid, I move out the way. I don't want you.
Kids don't like to listen to their parents.
Yeah.
Even if you're Gary Sheffield.
Yeah, they'll listen, but I just don't. I want somebody else to coach them. I want them to hear from somebody else.
Because they'll actually listen.
Yeah, they'll definitely listen. But, like I tell the coach, if you got a team and you got a bunch of good players, everybody should get their opportunity. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in letting a guy just play all the time, and then you get to play the same position all the time. Then now, because you're so good, nobody else can play. Mm-hmm. I don't do that. I make my key players, when they play, when I know as a team that we're going to beat, I give those other guys opportunity because they come to practice. Their parents pay money to be here, and they want to see their kids play. I like to see all parents cheer for their kids. And so when you're a coach, your job is to get all these kids out here, and they feel like they got a chance. Mm. Because you never know, if you make a kid feel like he got a chance, that may be the one kid that break through that nobody ever expected him to make it. But if you don't have a coach that believe in him, and even if that coach don't believe in him, at least give him an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Never know what may come out of it.
Yeah, exactly. You said your kid. You have a few kids.
Yeah.
How many kids do you have, Chef?
I got 8.
8 kids, dude. Yeah. That's insane. I got one 7-year-old daughter, and I'm like, man, sometimes I can't keep up.
Yeah.
I'm like the amount of energy.
I was the only child, so I wanted a big family.
Yeah.
And so that was all planned.
Right.
I knew what it was like to be alone. Mm. It's like your social skills suffer. Mm-hmm. Because you're not around people. I was always with my mom and dad. Yeah. I had to be in the house by dark. I couldn't spend the night at nobody else's house. Mm-hmm. So all of these things, my social skills suffered. Yeah. And I had to learn all of this stuff, when I went off to play ball. Yeah. People didn't understand why I like to be alone. Yeah, that's all I know.
It's like, right. That's what's comfortable.
Yeah, that's comfortable. So now, I got kids. Yeah. I get a lot of enjoyment, talking to them, watching them.
Yeah. We just saw your son hit a homer for Jesuit. Homer.
Great kids, man.
That last one, man. That he's everybody telling me that the last one, he's a lock. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, he's beast.
But he has that attitude. He has the talent. Right. But like he got to get more mature.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to go get it. You know what I mean? Nothing's given.
Yeah, you can't. The funny part about this is that, a lot of times when they see my kids, they think, oh, well, his dad got a lot of input on this. I don't have no say so, none whatsoever when it comes to them. I let them go out and play just like any other kid. Yeah. And I'm far away as I can. Yeah. The only reason they know I'm at the game, they smell my cigars.
Yeah, you're a dad, though. Yeah, but you're the dad, you're cheering your kid on. Yeah. You're not like, come on, you do this. Yeah. My dad was on me, dude. My dad was on me. You're swinging like a girl.
He's going to be on you now. He's going to be on you for saying that he was on you.
Yeah.
We'll get an email later from Dad, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, talking about everything you've had to overcome, even from the Hall of Fame and everything, I mean, how have you been so strong to handle that adversity, man? And how do you teach that to your kids? And they're going to go through. I know you got one of your kids. We've been blessed to get to know and help them out with the Empire League, which we love having you on board to help some of these kids out, man. And and they're overcoming certain things, and it's legendary what you've been able to do to teach overcoming adversity.
Well, I know that coaches, people that's running organizations, they got a tough job. When they got a bunch of kids that looking for opportunities, and I get it. I don't push my weight around because I played 22 years to try to tell somebody how to run their operation or business. I tell my kids, just like any other kid, go out there and earn your spot. That way you let them know that you're not walking in as this privileged kid. Money may not be your problems, but you want an opportunity to play this game that I played.
Right.
And you want to have an opportunity to play something you love. So go out there and show the coach, besides your last name and besides who you are, that you worthy of being out here and you want to be out here because you want to be out here, not because your daddy wants you out here. Right. Because I don't care if you play a game, as far as I'm concerned. If you don't want to play, you don't have to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's on you.
Yeah, it's on you.
Yeah, so, you got to do the work. You got to chase the dream. If that's your dream, then you got to go get it.
So, like, when you see things happen on the field where, it get a little chippy or whatever, people start looking at me to see my reaction. I'm like, well, that's him out there. I ain't out there.
Yep.
He know what to do. He know how to handle it. So it's like Allow your kids to go out there and find their own way.
They're gonna fail.
They're gonna fail.
Yeah.
They're gonna fail,
That's
and
where you
that's
learn.
why, you know, my kids will tell you, you know, I'm real as they come when it comes to how they're doing and what they should be doing or what they're not doing, and so I give them the scouting report that I see, so that way they don't have to go to the coach and ask them why they ain't playing. You know why you ain't playing,
Right.
and so I'm the first one to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, just because of what I did, my son needs to play. No, you want to play, go out there and play.
Right.
And that's where I leave it.
You wrote a book, Inside Power.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. That's a lot of work to put together a book, man.
Yeah, it is. You know, I didn't know this at the time. You know, a lot of people was asking me to write a book. I say, well, I'll write one and tell some of my story, but I'm going to hold off to tell my whole story at the right time.
Yeah.
And so I gave people bits and pieces of my life of inside power
Yeah.
and what that word really means. And I didn't know what it meant for pretty much my whole life. My granddad used to say that to me all the time, and I didn't have the courage to ask him, what you mean? Because I felt like whatever he said I was.
You just say you got to have inside power?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
he
cool.
just said that I have a mental toughness that can't be broken.
Yeah.
And no matter what the obstacles are, I'll overcome it. And that's what he was saying.
Yep.
And so he was saying it because he used that term because my uncle had substance abuse problems. He was more of a weaker mind
Yeah.
than I was.
Yeah.
And so he said I had inside power because I could turn down, you know, friendships, people doing drugs, that crowd, that group. I don't want no part of it. I was strictly business.
Discipline. Yeah.
And so I did 200-300 push-ups a day. I did sit-ups every day. I do dips every day. I do pull-ups every day. If I'm sitting watching the TV, I'll just start doing push-ups. If I'm, you know, just anything. If I got time, I'm doing something to get stronger or better.
Now we go to F45.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so that's where the inside power came from. So I just wanted to share, you know, a little bit
Like a
about
little
my
about your story.
Yeah.
I mean, what else is in the book just for people? I mean, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of still.
Books.
Well, it was a couple things in there to clear up my Milwaukee days because a lot of people have it wrong
Okay.
about, you know, saying
Just
you
certain
know,
things that happen.
Yeah, which I love playing in Milwaukee. People try to make it like I didn't. I didn't have no problem with the city. What I had a problem with is decisions that was made when it pertained me. I felt like I still haven't seen to this day a number one draft pick that produced like I produce. And by the time I got to the sticking point that I wanted to get to was Major League Baseball, I was being asked to move positions for a player that was less caliber than I was.
Yeah.
And I didn't see where that made any sense. I felt like this is not Cal Ripken Jr., and even if it was Cal Ripken Jr., I was the better player.
It was on defense you're talking about. Or
Yeah,
you're
playing
talking
shortstop.
about- Yeah, okay.
And I didn't want to play third base because I didn't play third base. And so that's where that started.
That's a big difference, man.
It's a big difference. And I didn't want to play it, so why you're making me play it?
Yeah.
So if I don't want to do something and I don't feel comfortable doing it, but I have to do something that I don't feel comfortable doing to accommodate somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I didn't see no reasoning in that. And since I was the face of the team or becoming the face of the team, never seen it done. And I didn't.
It's a hard
take it too
transition
well.
to change
Yeah.
positions, man. I mean, I started in the infield. I wasn't good enough to play the infield,
Yeah.
so that's why they put me in the outfield.
Right.
But I remember later in the career trying to go from outfield to first base.
Like a newborn.
Yeah.
It's like a newborn
It's
out there.
different. It's just
Yeah.
so different. Yeah.
Well, you know, when you hear stories about, you know, when they tell you Derek Jeter made 50 errors in the minor leagues and this guy made
Right.
30 and this guy made 40.
Yeah, Marcus Semien.
I didn't do
went through
none of that.
Yeah.
I made 18 errors in the minor leagues.
Yep.
And I thought that was way too many because Omar Vizquel only made 3
Yeah.
in A-ball. And I was like, man, that's the model right there.
guys were
And I wanted to
monsters.
get better, you know, but we didn't have defensive specialists
Right,
to teach
to
us
teach
this
you
and do
things.
that and do
Yeah.
that. You just play games. And so when that happened, the reputation started. That's when I spoke up for the first time, that's when I realized this is the new me. Because this is what y'all created. You know, I was quiet and minding my business and taking care of my business. But now you want to pull moves on me that I don't agree with, and it's not helping my career. So I have to speak up for myself.
Yeah, you kind of have to fend for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's tough. It's tricky.
It's tricky, but it's something that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
But I felt like me listening to everything that they said, they told me to lay the bat on my shoulder and hit. Well, I just hit 44 home runs. Why are you changing that?
Don't change. Yeah, you
So
don't
now-
change somebody that just hit 44 home runs.
Yeah, now you're talking about changing something that was successful. Then you're trying to move me where I was successful.
Yeah.
They were showing me nothing.
There's so much like success that comes with comfort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being comfortable in whether it be like how you're hitting your mechanics, your routine.
Imagine Frank
but like
Thomas,
where you're playing.
Well, imagine Frank Thomas coming to the plate, or Canseco, or McGuire, and Kirby Puckett.
Right.
And I'm standing at third base, and I'm 19 years old.
Yeah. Oof.
It's like I don't belong over here, and I want to be far away from that hitter as possible.
Yeah.
And at shortstop, I was more athletic than I was at third because I got more range.
Right.
I just felt constricted over at third base, and I didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's different. It's completely different.
And they would say, "Well, what happened?"
Did they remove you from the position eventually, or
What,
were
short?
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I got up there, they was already threatening moving me from position.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I just felt like this ain't the place for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I don't get to play where I want to play, I want out of here.
Yeah.
And I start asking for a trade every day.
Yeah. Let's go into the World Series. Mm-hmm. You went to one World Series,
One
right?
World Series,
with the
yep.
Marlins.
Yep.
You guys won.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never got to make the World Series. Okay.
No?
So no. We went to the playoffs 6 times, which was
okay.
that's pretty legit.
No,
making
that's
playoffs.
great.
Yeah.
That's
so,
great.
What's your memories? What's your favorite memories about the World Series?
The one thing that stick out to me was Jim Leland, what he said to me in spring training, and I never had nobody say that to me. And it was when I look back at it, I was like, "Whoa!" He gave me a lot of responsibility, And I remember they signed him, and the first day he comes in, and we're in Cocoa Beach, we're going over to the practice side, and Jim Leland told me to hang back, and I hung back. And he was walking over to the other side with me, and he put his arm around me the whole time. He was telling me, I want you to outplay every player on the other team, best player. I want you to outplay their best player. I was like, every road trip? He was like, every road trip. I want you to be better than the Barry Bondses. I want you to be better than, he just named off guys.
Yeah.
Whatever they do, you got to match it. And then we're only going to go as far as you take us. I said, no problem. I said, because nobody ever asked me that.
Uh-huh.
So now, game on. And so every time I faced them, I remember we was facing the Giants in the playoffs, and everybody had Barry Bonds coming out of his shell because he struggled so much in the playoffs. But what they didn't realize, Jim Leland made moves back in November to prepare for Barry Bonds because he knew this moment was coming.
Sure.
And they had 3 lefties in the bullpen that pretty much got him out on the regular.
Right.
And so when we got in that series, I remember coming up, and this deciding blow. And Hernandez, I can't think of his first name, got throwing about 100. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, I gotta come through for the team. And I wound up hitting a home run against him. And we beat the Giants. We wound up sweeping them. And that was the series where everything that happened on the year, everything came out for me, basically like this is my moment. Right. That's when I knew we was going to win the World Series, when we got past Barry Bonds and the Giants, because we had them beat the Braves 14 out of 18 times. And I knew their pitching staff with Matters, Glavine, and all those guys, we dominate them.
Yeah.
And so I knew.
And that's crazy to say with those 3 guys.
Yeah.
You have Pudge. Pudge was your catcher, right?
No, Pudge wasn't there yet.
No,
we had Charles Johnson as catcher.
Oh, yeah, Charles. I remember that.
Yeah,
Charles,
so we had the right guys.
Yep.
It's just a matter of now we just have to go through the process.
Was Dontrell there?
No, he wasn't there
was
yet.
after.
That's a little
Yeah,
later,
they
right?
was after,
That was after. Because they won it again, right?
They won it again with Dontrell
Beckett,
and
Dontrell.
Yeah,
that's
but
what I was thinking. Yeah.
But when we got past them, we had no more worries. We as a team,
you were on the
we
high.
just-
You were like, let's go.
just
we
taking
got it.
care of the details. Now, staying in the moment and don't get too far ahead of ourselves. And when we discovered that we had to play the Cleveland Indians, We didn't think they had the pitching. They didn't have enough pitching to stop our offense, and boy, I was wrong. I mean, they held their own, but we had some breakout gains. But for the most part, we made it closer than it should have been.
So, I mean, I think you're still involved with the MLB side, though, right? So you don't. I mean, obviously, we didn't go down the managing route, but you still kind of like do some consulting, right? With MLB. I mean, I think from what I've heard, you're involved with MLB on the MLB side, and like even talk with owners. I don't know how much you can kind of elaborate on or kind of like tell us, but like I'd love to hear and dive into like the MLB and like the moves that they're trying to make to improve the game. What's the changes, the dynamics of like obviously the minor leagues, they've really cut down on the minor leagues. Can we dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, I meet with Major League Baseball from time to time, and they bring ideas to me about where the game is going. And because like veteran players, we really don't know like where the game is taking the change for the sabermetrics and how it works and what it really means and how you evaluate and things like that, opposed to old school evaluation. And so what I try to do is I come in and I try to listen more than anything and pay attention and watch before I have a formal opinion about anything.
Right.
And once I come to that conclusion, I kind of say, okay, well, they're looking at sabermetrics. What do sabermetrics really tell you? Because they no longer care about batting average. Well, this is where batting average helps you. You know, you can't eliminate one component of the game and think you can make it all up with a home run. There's other facets of the game that you have to play to be who you are, because everybody is not a home run hitter. So I look for, certain guys that have certain roles, and then I find the weakness. And when I find the weakness, I say, well, you have this guy trying to play like this guy when he's not that guy.
Right.
If you get this guy to play like he's a stolen base guy, he's a gap-to-gap guy. If
on
you
base, whatever it is.
On base, you judge him different than you judge him, then you create magic. And so
putting together, building like a team, like looking at and analyzing and understanding the pieces that you need to put together in order to have a team that has the ability to go a long way.
Right, because it's always going to be free agents out there. There's always going to be guys you can go pluck from everywhere. But are you building a team that where they play good together? Like, I don't have to have a superstar to fill this void. I can have a guy that can give me 15, 20 home runs, and we can be just as effective.
Yeah, you can't have a team full of superstars.
Right. It don't work.
It's just maybe a couple, one or two, unless you're the Dodgers right now. I don't know.
Well, you're gonna see real clear. How having a bunch of superstars.
Yeah, you've seen it.
Yeah,
you've seen it.
It
You
don't
played
work.
played on some of the teams.
Well, it's gonna be some times you're gonna have to do some small things and little things, and now which guy is gonna do that?
And how do you win?
And how you win?
Yeah,
I got a multi-billion-dollar idea here. Can we come up with cybermetrics that are going to be able to determine guts, heart, character, glory, teammate capabilities?
That's the old school way.
Woo, baby.
That's the old school way.
And that's the shit that you're seeing in the game right now. Because a lot of cybermetrics are good and a lot of hearts are bad. You know what I mean? And the characters are terrible. And so, where do we find that happy medium? I think it's affecting the game.
It's you got a lot of scholars, controlling the game.
Well, you got right, like the brains.
Brains,
right?
yes, which I don't ignore it.
Right.
Because I think knowledge is key. But what do you do with it?
Exactly.
It's
how do you use it?
How do you use it? And you can go and you can go to watch a team play. And if they give you that same information, you can take that information and say, okay, now I can better communicate with these players and what they need.
It was crazy the amount of information that you would get towards the end of my career, and depending on the team, right? But I mean, you're talking about there was sometimes like 8 different pages, like posted on the board of just different analytics and what his ball does, his speed, and what he throws on different accounts, and just all kinds of different stuff, man.
Well, once again, that's great and all, but the situation is telling you what you need to do against this guy anyway.
Right.
Hit a ground ball.
Yeah. If I got a guy on first base, first thing I tell myself is make sure the ball is up that I swing at, because he wants to get me to hit in double play.
Yep.
If I got a man on second base, make sure I cover the 80%
Right.
middle away, then worrying about the 20% middle in. I'm going to have more success on the 80% than I am the 20%, because they're very rarely they're going to come in here. So, man on third base, 1 out. Make sure that I get a ball out over the plate where I can get extended. So I hit the ball hard enough. If I hit it on the ground, I can control where it goes. If I get it in the air, it's deep enough. So if I don't process this before I stand up here, then basically I take chasing the pitch down or hitting the ball to third base.
Yeah.
I take that out the equation.
Just have an approach, having a plan.
Yeah.
Before you step in the box. But that's just understanding the
Yeah.
game. But you'd actually be surprised by how many people that just
huge.
walk in the
Don't know.
box.
Yeah.
And they don't think about it.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, come on.
Well,
It's part of the job.
But if you know that as a coach, then you coach it.
Right. Right.
You basically, hey, before they go up there, hey, you know the situation. Hey, make sure the ball is up. Let's do this. So it's,
But what you got now is players worried about their launch angle and
Oh,
how
right.
hard their exit velo is.
Right.
And if I hit a ground ball to second, my analytics is going to show that I'm a weak hitter, just a ground. No, you're playing the,
Well,
this is where it's a conflict right here. And that's we're getting to it.
There's one incident that happened. I was doing TV with TNT, and they told me, I'm not even going to say his name because I didn't say it so many
I
times.
got no trouble here.
Yeah, but this player was in the World Series, and all of a sudden, this guy was not playing well at all. I mean, he didn't even have a hit the whole time. And
I already know who it is.
he called a team meeting, with his team.
Yep.
And they asked me, Gary, well, if a player didn't have a hit and he didn't have a good year, if he called a player meeting, what would you have done? I would have called a meeting off. I told him I would have called a meeting off. As soon as he called a meeting, I would have called it off. Like that, right? Now, he said that he didn't care about the results he had. He hit the ball hard 40% of the time. And that's all he can control.
Yeah.
Well, to me, that's a loser's mentality. Because if you just worried about you hit it hard and you happy with the results, that makes no sense to me. And so I had spoke about that, and then they were saying, well, that's the way sabermetrics are viewing these kids now. If they hit the ball hard,
Measurement, yeah.
that's a good thing opposed to results. I said, well, it's a result-based game. So if you just, if you didn't get the results, then you failed. And so we was in a back and forth with that. But when I hear guys talk about the game, they talk about the game different than when we played. And I'm not saying they're supposed to talk about everything the same, but the way they're viewing success and failure is just that's
different.
off for me.
It's different.
That's
How do
off.
the kids know who
Yeah.
they're looking for nowadays, right? Are they looking for a 320 hitter? So guys are focusing, I got to be a strong 300-plus hitter with decent speed, decent arm. Or are we just constantly looking for that guy that's 40 to 50% barrel, right?
It's not
That's
the
batting
players,
160.
but it's not the players' fault though.
Yeah.
It's not their
the
fault.
system.
It's the
System
system. It's the system that took over, and this is what they're asking them to do.
Mm.
And they don't realize by asking them to do very little, you get very little. And think about it, Matt. When I was playing, we had to hit 300. We had to drive in 100 runs. We had to hit 30. We had to get on base. We had to steal bases. So if you just told me all my responsibility is catch the ball that's hit to me and try to get the ball in the air and hit as many home runs as possible,
You would have been a completely different player.
yeah, I would have been a totally different player. And which I wouldn't have played that way because my pride wouldn't let me. I don't like striking out. I'm embarrassed when I strike out.
Yep.
So I wouldn't have succumbed to that.
Yeah.
I would have still played my game the way I played my game. And I think a lot of these kids now, because all of them are young, all these players are young now. You don't have a lot of veteran players.
Right.
You
got pushed out of the game.
Yeah, where these kids can watch and learn
Yep.
and learn how to prepare. They don't have that. They're coming right in and they're saying, hey, this is what we want. If you hit 20, 30 home runs, we can give you $1 gazillion. And it's just quite simple as that, the way these kids are looking at it.
Man, the
It's
pitching.
kind of like a responsibility for us as coaches. Like,
Yeah.
what are we passing down to these kids? We need to let them know this is what's happening within the system.
Yeah.
But we still got to teach them to play the game the right way. Move the guy over, hit that line drive when you need to, or that fly ball. But they got to also be told you gotta work on hitting that that exit velo so that we can get you somewhere.
Yeah.
And kind of maybe the coaching, but there's just not a lot of it out there. So it's up to the few of us that have the knowledge and understanding in this to really share it with the guys to increase your chances.
Well, today a lot of kids are sensitive than in the past. So I get a lot of from MLB and organizations.
Stuff,
They say if you say it this way or if you say this, it offends the player.
Yeah.
And when I hear that, it's like, whoa,
Holy
this
shit.
is what we're doing now. Like we can't we can't hold the kids accountable.
Yeah.
So for me, it becomes, how do I reach them where they at? And so what I do is I basically watch, because once you watch a guy long enough, you know exactly what makes him tick.
Right.
And so I just reach him where they're at. And if he's one of those guys that's sensitive, he don't like to make changes as a hitter, basically you use, little small things like, what are you looking for when you're hitting? They tell you, you dig for all the information they can give you of their approach. And then you share with them, well, maybe if you change your approach, I'm not saying change the way you stand or how you hit, but maybe you need to start looking in this area and start looking at this.
Or what you're trying to do with the ball.
Right.
And that's so true when you're facing somebody like Garrett Cole, who has that ride. I'm trying to hit that low line drive up the middle,
right,
as opposed to somebody had a sinker, right? Like my approach changed. Right. I wasn't trying to change my hands or my swing. Right. It's just what I'm trying to do with the ball, what I'm looking for.
Well, they're more than likely to listen to that than me saying, this ain't working, man. You need to do this.
Right.
That person is not going to be open to just make a change like that. So you basically have to help him along with his game planning. And so if you go into it helping him with his game planning, and if he have success, then he'll listen to other things you got to say.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So I want to change gears here and go down the business route, because I feel like, when I was young, obviously you had a lot more experience than I did. You've been out of the game for a little bit now, but I feel like you really did a great job getting into business and in multiple different facets. So I want to start with what, in the business sense and investment, what do you feel like has been your best investment in business, investment to start with?
Yeah.
Let's start there. What was that? Was that really
got a
purely
lot of
real
ball
estate?
players that are just so clueless. They got a little bit of money and they don't know.
Well, I number one, I get into things that I understand,
Yeah.
and I don't do anything I don't understand. And so a lot of things when it comes to baseball, I'm always looking for ideas that can help improve the game or improve the players that's playing the game, finding things that can help them. But for me, I was always in the real estate.
Yeah.
I was so deep in it, and I mean, at the top of my game, my portfolio was probably bigger than my playing salary.
Okay.
And so I was doing that.
Right.
And I was more interested in that sometimes than I was going on the field and playing, to be honest with you, because I wanted to get out of it and go focus on my real estate.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I knew what paid my bills was baseball. And so I used the baseball and my monies for baseball to get into certain things like, hotels, resorts, apartment buildings. I mean, I had a portfolio from Alvin, Texas, where Texas A&M. I owned all of those. Jacksonville, Florida, where I started. Mississippi, I mean, everywhere. And it was just I was so spread out, and I was looking at things and managing so many people, and trying to play the game at the same time.
That's too much.
And it became a lot.
Yeah.
And so once it got to the point where you started seeing floodings and things getting wiped out, they changed the law with the flood insurance.
Okay.
So in that business, the flood insurance, if you can't rely on the flood insurance, then the investment is risky.
Right.
It becomes more risky.
Yep.
And so right at that time, I had portfolio so big, right before they got ready to change the law, I cashed out.
Okay. Wow.
So basically, my stuff sold at the highest value. But by the time I got out and they changed the law, now the value dropped, but I got out at the right time.
I mean, was that part of like politics and understanding politics and the laws that are being enacted or changed? Or was that just kind of like you had the right people around you to be like, hey, this is something you need to be aware of?
No, I have people around me that understand the business, and I understand as well. But I'm the type of guy, when there's changes coming, I move.
Right.
I don't sit in one place and try to figure out change. If change is, it can be good or it can be bad, I'll take my money and go.
Right. And look for the
And
next
then I look for the
opportunity.
next opportunity, because now I know what to get in, opposed to being stuck in something. And so I think I've moved at the right pace. But these are things that I had years and years of experience doing. So when I retired, I just walked right into something else. And so I didn't really have time to look back at baseball and start saying, man, if I would have did this, or I wish I'd have played longer or did this. I did all that I can do in baseball. I played 22 years.
Yep.
I could have played longer,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to.
Still got a chance, though. You
No.
can play right now.
No.
Listen, I got a guaranteed contract for you right now. Tupper Lake River Pig. Okay, all right.
What about
Come visit, though. Come visit.
Yeah.
That's
I know. I'll do that now.
Yeah,
I'll do
we're on the
that.
other side.
Yeah, we're on the other side.
Get Gary. Let's get some of these boys.
If you can't do it anymore, you got to talk about it.
Yeah, but like we said, man, you understand now that you're not playing, you feel the difference.
100%.
And it's great getting checks and all that type of stuff, but once it's over, it's over.
So,
I don't
it's a
think
hard
about it.
transition.
It's a hard transition.
That's what you do your whole life, you know?
It's hard from the standpoint is because you're in a rhythm.
Yeah.
So your life is a rhythm now. It's basically you wake up, you're on somebody else's time. That's all you know at this time. But now when you on your own time, how do you find that balance to motivate you in the competitive stuff, and then go back and relax and enjoy what you built?
What you've worked so hard
to earn.
Yeah.
So I found it in golf, and I found it in going around in different organizations and bringing me in and evaluating players and things like that. So it keep me busy enough.
Yep.
And my kids keep me busy.
And your pet, I mean, you got 8 kids, so you keep me
Yeah,
busy.
yeah. Well, thank God I made the money I made.
Yeah.
They expensive. So trust
Kids
me.
are expensive.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, I don't want to take you up. I want to be respectful
No,
of
you're
your
good,
time.
man.
I mean,
I'm
really
good.
enjoy you coming on the show.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we could talk for hours and hours and tell stories for days. And,
Yeah.
Well, he's welcome back anytime he wants.
And
His
for us,
kids,
we'll
his
listen
house,
to you.
man.
You know,
Yeah,
as long as
We
you
want to
tell us
start
the
getting
story.
into some of those checks you're talking about. Like,
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
need to be doing.
Well,
Let's go. Let's do this.
we'll get you there. You know, the
Let's do
thing
this.
is there's a lot of things coming up the pike that I'm gonna keep you guys informed with, because I think what you're doing it's helping a lot of young kids that get
Appreciate
left
it.
behind. And I think, for somebody like you, this is what I talk about. Somebody really tackling what's needed. And Major League Baseball, once they see how it's needed, I think they'll jump on board and kind of like carry this thing through, because there's a lot of talent out there. You got to discover it.
Well, especially with the draft being reduced, the
Yeah.
minor league being reduced, it's the whole entire landscape is shifting.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good for the game. Just there needs to be a grand shift, and it's all about developing and helping these young men achieve that next level, or let them know at that point, this is your max. This ain't for you. But we got guys that came through the through the grind, the vibes, and they're there now. Now it's where they got an opportunity.
Well, I just, it saddens me when I see a lot of kids out here is not getting the opportunities that they deserve. And I when I go see them play, I said, man, you could help a major league team. And it just looking for that opportunity. Sometimes it's in so small.
So we need to have an expansion team.
Yeah.
That we have a stake
Yeah.
in the major league teams. They were telling me, all right, we'll continue this conversation later.
next time, man. It's
Next
been a
time.
blessing,
Yeah.
man. We
Yeah, no,
love
it's been
having
awesome.
you
Yeah.
on the show today. Thanks for coming. We're part of the family, and hopefully more to come ahead.
Absolutely.
We know you're a man of faith too. We
Yes, sir.
love our God. So
Gotta
thank you.
keep him first. Gotta
We
keep him
keep him
first in
first,
everything
man.
you do.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining
Thanks
us,
for
man.
being
here,
stay,
brother.
stay tuned for the next episode. And,
Yes,
yeah, man, thanks for everything.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
you.
me, dog.
Thanks. Appreciate
My
you.
man.
Okay, see you guys. Stay tuned for the
man.
next episode.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Yeah.